Let us step into the world where French flair met English grit, where knight wrote for honor and poets sang of love and legends. Welcome to the Anglo-Norman Age. The year is 1066. The sky darkened with sails as Norman ships crowded the English coast. When King Edward the Confessor died in 1066 without a son to inherit the throne, he had promised the throne to William, who was the Duke of Normandy. However, when Edward died, the English noble chose Harold Godwinson, a powerful English lord, to be the new king instead of William. William was not happy about this and claimed that Edward has promised him the throne years earlier. He gathered his army and invaded England. Meanwhile, Harold Godwinson was dealing with another invasion by the Vikings led by Harold Hardrada, who also wanted the throne. Harold Godwinson defeated the Vikings at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, but then he had to rush south to face William's Norman army at the Battle of Hastings, which was on 14th October 1066. Unfortunately, Harold Godwinson's army was exhausted from the previous battle and they lost to the Normans. Harold Godwinson was killed and William became the new king of England, and he was known as William the Conqueror. The Battle of Hastings doesn't just crown a new king, it cracked open a new era. The Anglo-Norman Age begins, where French lords ruled English lands. French mixed with the local people who spoke English. Over time, their language and culture blended, creating a new English culture. This mix of French and English gave birth to a new kind of writing and storytelling, which talked about knights and saints, of courtly love and crusades, of loyalty, loss, and longing. The old Anglo-Saxon word didn't vanish overnight, but it was transformed. English became the term of peasant, and French led the language of king and court. But this wasn't just a political, it was a cultural revolution. The Anglo-Norman Age was the birth of Romance literature, tales of chivalry, honor, and courtly love. Anglo-Saxon Age songs and poems about warriors like Beowulf were sung, but in the Anglo-Norman period, it wasn't continued. In their place came stories about noble quests, enchanted forests, and star-crossed lovers. Literature now owed a crown and carried a lute. It means that literature had become more refined, elegant, and royal. The crown represents nobility and prestige, while the lute represents music and artistry. One man started it all, Geoffrey of Monmouth. He didn't just write history, he created legends. Around 1136, he wrote History of the Kings of Britain, where he took scattered stories of King Arthur and turned them into a grand tale. Geoffrey's Arthur wasn't just a fighter, he was a powerful king, a leader, a symbol of pride. Geoffrey's works didn't just tell facts, they sparkled imagination. Soon others joined in. Wace, a French poet, retold Geoffrey's story in poetry. He made it graceful and added something new. His work, The Round Table, where knights sat as equal. Then came Layamon, an English priest. He translated Wace's poem into early English. Yes, Layamon kept the strong rhythm and sound of old English poetry but added emotions and bravery. Together, these three voices helped the Arthur story grow, adding quest, love, betrayal, and honor. But Arthur wasn't the only story. In the poem The Owl and the Nightingale, two birds argued about love, poetry, and wisdom. It is smart, funny, and full of characters. It shows that even in the world of knights and saints, people enjoyed clever debates. During Middle Ages, minstrels and troubadours were traveling singers and poets. They performed in courts and castles, sharing the stories of heroes like Sir Gawain and King Arthur. These weren't just fun tales, they showed value, like knights were brave, yes, but also kind, loyal, and respectful to women. Love became something noble, not just romantic. This age gave us a mix of captivating narratives and historical blend. Romance, which brought stories of brave love and exciting adventure, drawing people in with tales of passion and courage. Allegory, which wove in tales that teach lessons using symbols and characters. Chronicles, on the other hand, were history books that mixed real events with legends, creating a fascinating tapestry of the past. It was a time when language mixed Latin, French, and English, and from that mix came creativity. Writers weren't just saving old stories, they were building new ones. This wasn't just an age of conquest, it was an age meanwhile the church was growing. Monasteries became places of learning, monks copied books, wrote history, and kept knowledge alive. Latin was the language of religion, and monks like Orderic Vitalis and William Malmesbury wrote big histories that mixed facts, faith, and old stories. So, what makes Anglo-Norman literature special? It is a mix of Old English, French, and Latin that came together to create a new style. It is full of romance, teaching stories, and poems that entertain and inspire. It is where history turned into myth and myth became memory. Even with struggle, people dreamed of something better, a heaven to hope for, honor to live by, and a world beyond war. It was the time when the human spirit began to rise looking for meaning in the hard world. The Anglo-Norman Age planted the seeds of Middle English and gave life to Arthurian stories and lit the path for English literature to grow. Anglo-Norman literature isn't just a bridge, it is a forge. It melted languages, cultures, and stories into something new. And from that fire, English literature stepped forward, not just as a battle cry, but as a song of love, faith, and imagination. Yes, this is all about the Anglo-Norman period. Thank you for watching.